Love me shorty bread, and it was made by Honey Bun. I love me shorty bread.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello, welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 7128-328-001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, and in the main watch today. The current effect of COVID-19 on the housing market. In the second watch, how are the ever-changing restrictions affecting the church? In our social media question, we asked, how have the ever-changing restrictions affected your worship? Share your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on the program, but first, here's I quote.
This morning's I quote, "Don't wake up with the regret of what you couldn't accomplish yesterday. Wake up while thinking about what you will be able to achieve today."
I wish we knew who this was. Some of these quotes are always anonymous, Shivani. Why is that so?
I don't know.
Wish we knew who this was, because it's a very inspiring I quote. The
Indeed.
main watch will be back. Indeed, indeed, indeed. The main watch will be back after this break.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live, online banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way.
Clear Sound Production Services in association with Kevin Downswell Ministries present 658 Fest. Thank you. With Kevin Downswell, Rhoda Isabella, Rondell Positive, Chosen, Petra K, and Ali McNabb. Tickets 3,000, VIP 6,000 at spuropen.com/658fest. Saturday, August 7, 3 to 7 p.m. Police Officers Club, 34 Hope Road. COVID protocols will be observed. An attitude of gratitude. 658 Fest. Thank you. JUTC available to downtown Spanish Town and Portmore after the show.
NIS pensioners, avoid the wait. Get your NIS pension straight to your bank account. It's easy. Simply visit the Ministry of Labor and Social Security's website, mlss.gov.jm, or the nearest NIS office and collect the direct deposit application form. Then complete the form and submit it along with supporting documents to the NIS office nearest you. Avoid crowds and long lines. Get your money when you want it. The National Insurance Scheme, always working for you.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm Stokely Marshall, your host. Now, how has COVID-19 affected our housing market? What are the buyers' demand? What is the stock of houses looking like, or land generally? And will after COVID-19 real estate conditions look anything like it did prior to? And is the present stock of buyers, or the present group of buyers and sellers, what are they demanding? What are they looking for? What are the things that they would like? And will there be any changes to designs and ways, buildings are constructed? How is it going to be affected in relation to working from home, schooling, etc.? We have online this morning to have a conversation about this and other related matters. Donovan Reed. Mr. Reed is the president of the Realtors Association of Jamaica, and we're very happy to have him this morning. Good morning, Mr. Reed. How are you?
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. I'm fine. I just saw our Jamaican doing his personal best in the 400. I'm very pleased, and yes, I'm very pleased, and I'm happy about Hansel Parchment and Ronald Levy. So I'm over the moon.
And we're happy that you are able to do this interview, notwithstanding, sir.
Yes, it was at some sacrifice, I must say.
Happy to have you, sir. Happy to have you. Now, I first of all want to make mention that I am a member of your association. Sir, you are in fact my president. I do have a salesman license, and I'm a member of the RAJ. And so I know a little bit of what you're going to say, Mr. Reed, but for the benefit of the listeners and coming from the president, sir, we want to find out exactly how COVID-19 has impacted all these restrictions in terms of movement, etc. How has it affected the purchase and sale of real estate? You mind telling us in a nutshell what is the general outlook like before we become more specific? Mr. Reed?
Well, it has been an interesting time because the Jamaican real estate market has shown quite a bit of resilience during this COVID-19 pandemic. In particular, if you look at the stats, in terms of the number of transactions, 2019 to 2020, you would hardly have known that there was a pandemic. So we think that the real estate market has shown a lot of resilience. Where we saw some level of fallout was in the short-term rental market, what the common person would know as the Airbnb. But we think that things have pretty much been fairly stable. And in fact, if you look at the level of development and construction that has been going on, that is another indicator that the real estate market has shown a lot of resilience.
Well, why do you think that is so? And by the way, I'll couch it in the terms of, without necessarily referring to a particular trademark when you speak of short-term rental market. Why do you think that the housing market generally has shown this level of resilience, notwithstanding?
Because I think generally the housing market has been a seller's market, and the fact of the matter is the supply.
Can you pause there 1 second, sir? Many listeners do not know what you mean when you say seller's market. Can you explain that to them, please?
A seller's market?
Yes, sir.
A seller's market is usually when the supply of housing stock solutions is below demand. And of course, whenever you have a situation where the seller, by virtue of the fact that they have, in simple terms, crudely put, scarce goods, then what you will find is that for one, the price is going to go up. That is what you're going to find happening. And of course, in a situation where, so it's just as if, so the seller has their power because he has something that is in demand and the demand far outstrips the supply. So he can command a higher price. And of course, because of the fact that housing and shelter is a basic human need and right, you will find that there will always be the demand for real estate. So I think that, for one, is a major driver, that you have more people seeking to purchase houses than you have houses that are available. So come what may, pandemic or not, that demand is going to be strong in spite of the challenges.
Very interesting. You said that housing is a right, and it sounds as if you are going to be piloting an attempt to change the Constitution or to amend it to include housing as a right in the Constitution, sir?
Well, put it this way. I do believe that shelter is a basic human need. It's a right. And but I would...
You would like it in the Constitution, sir? Anyway, you don't have to answer that one. I was just...
No, I would want to comment on it in terms of... I really believe that the government has a responsibility to create this sort of climate to ensure that the supply matches the demand in the market, because housing is a basic need and a right. And where I'd want to see the government going, because I think more than just changing one's constitution, because what is written doesn't necessarily reflect what is actually done. I would want to see the government setting targets for housing solutions.
Yes.
Those should be mandatory in the annual budget process, and demand performance and allocate the funds to achieve those targets, because I think that we have too many squatter settlements. And I think it is a disgrace in terms of what we have, too many zinc settlements. We have a responsibility as a nation. So I'm thinking, yes, in terms of the government targets and matching it in terms of the budget and the mandatory allocations, demanding performance from the housing sector. I am not sure whether, though, just a change in the Constitution would be enough.
Understood. Yes. In other words, we need the real commitment coming from primarily the government first. I think you're asking that they be the main driver of it.
Yes, because for want of a better way of saying it, it takes cash to care. And then moving forward now, it's not enough for the government to just set the targets. And just as how, what I would agree with you, just as how the government has made it's almost mandatory, if not mandatory, for a certain type of primary surplus. I would think something like housing solutions, that it should be handled in the same way. And then now, the matter of, if you're going to get it done, you have to ensure that the funds are in the annual budget. And more than that, though, I think the government has the responsibility to create the right macro financial climate so that you will maintain this low interest rate regime for loans from both the public and private sector. So you create the affordability, and then to manage the economy and then by extension the foreign exchange rate, because that is an upward pull on construction costs.
Very interesting. Now, Mr. Reid, before we head to the break, do you see any shift in the types of housing, land solutions people are looking for when they are going to purchase? And we don't want to leave rentals out either. Do you see any changes there, or the demand is just the same as it was prior to COVID?
Well, the fact of the matter is, I think the government, their statistics indicate that Jamaica needs about 15,000 new housing units annually, versus about just a little over, marginally 11,152 being built. So,
Mr. Reid, hold that thought 1 second, because I do see we are up on a break. So you can complete your thoughts. Listeners, stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Okay.
This is Love 101, the family station. It is now 7:15.
The first sound they make is to simply let the world know they're here. And then it's our duty to help them show the world why they're here in the first place.
Give them every advantage with the Guardian Achiever, a plan that provides for their educational dreams and protects their health and life in the process. For more information, call 888-4LIFE to speak to an advisor or visit myguardiangroup.com.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is now inviting all persons 18 years and older to make an appointment for COVID-19 vaccination. Appointments can be made by calling 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. You can also book online at www.moh.gov.jm. You may ask a relative, friend, or healthcare provider to assist with completing the application. Persons who are due their second COVID-19 vaccine are also invited to make their appointments. On the day of the appointment, individuals should take a government-issued ID, TRN, or letter from a justice of the peace. Persons who have a vaccination appointment during the curfew hours will be granted an exemption to complete their vaccination process and return home. Get vaccinated. Get back to life. This was an important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Munchie! Yes, Boss Oliver! I'm heading out now. Straight to Cars Auto a Montego Bay.
The entire Jamaica is heading to Cars Auto.
About variety. Aye, there. And the vehicle them clean as a whistle and the price right. A two where them say good quality, best price.
Cars Auto.
Clear Sound Production Services in association with Kevin Downswell Ministries present 658 Best Thank You with Kevin Downswell, Rhoda Isabella, Rondell Positive, Chosen, Petra K, and Ali McNabb. Tickets 3,000, VIP 6,000 at spuropen.com/658fest. Saturday, August 7, 3 to 7 p.m. Police Officers Club, 34 Hope Road. COVID protocols will be observed. An attitude of gratitude. 658 Fest. Thank you. JUTC available to downtown Spanish Town and Portmore after the show.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the main watch. We're looking at the current effect of COVID-19 on the housing market. And our guest is Mr. Donovan Reid. Now, he is the president of the Realtors Association of Jamaica. Now, just before the break, Mr. Reid, you're making a point. Would you like to continue, sir? In fact, we were specifically looking at the effect that COVID-19 may be having in relation to the kinds of housing and land solutions people may be looking for, the types. Continue, Mr. Reid.
Well, as I said earlier, according to government statistics, Jamaica needs about 15,000 new housing units annually. And we are building about just a little over 11,152. So that demand will remain until we can provide the housing solutions to bring the equilibrium in the market. That demand will remain. In terms of where the strongest demand is, clearly it will remain in the lower end of the market, between 7 million and 25 million, by virtue of the fact that when you look at the average income earner, and I'm saying now like your teachers, your nurses, the security forces, and so they would more or less qualify, a husband and a wife, national interest benefit, looking at 13 million. So we believe that that lower end will have the strongest demand by virtue of the earning capacity in Jamaica, a developing country. So that will remain the sort of lower end of the market, as I said, 7 to 25 million. In terms of the demand for the mid-range market, 25 to 40 million dollars, the supply and the demand, we see that there is a trending towards a balancing. But there are not a lot of persons who can get that sort of financing in terms of up to 40 million. So the lower end of the market will always have that strong demand in terms of, and until we can get that balance between the demand and the supply, that will remain. So in terms of what people will be demanding, it will be a factor of what they can afford. In terms of where we see things going in terms of the type of construction, clearly we see things happening now in terms of there's a shift, particularly in the urban areas, for the strata. There's a shift. There has been an increase in the approvals in terms of...
You mean multi-dwelling apartments, townhouses?
The apartments, yes. In fact,
apartments.
Yeah, the number of apartment complexes that are going up now are staggering. And the reason for that is in terms of land space and in terms of affordability. So clearly, more Jamaicans are going to be living in sort of that community type setting. That is going to...
Is it mostly Kingston though? Is it mostly Kingston and maybe even Montego Bay? What about other parts of the island?
We think it is also so in Montego Bay, but because Kingston has such a great concentration of the population, you'll see more of it. But that is also so. What I would say, so clearly that sort of, for those persons who are not accustomed to be living in a sort of a community-based, we'll have to get more accustomed to that. And clearly there is going to be the need. I think probably the greatest, one of the greatest opportunities for jobs going forward in the real estate sector is going to be property managers. That is going to be a serious thing. We're going to need more property managers with these apartment complexes that are going up. In terms of the demand now for the lower end of the market, if you want anything between 7 and 25 million, you're going to have to look in terms of volume. You're going to have to look more in terms of the areas outside of the municipalities. You have to look in St. Catherine. You have to look in Spanish Town, in New Harbour Village, that sort of thing. In Montego Bay, you're going to have to look at some of those other areas, the Coral Gardens. You're going to have to look at Bernard Lodge. Those are that big complex, that big development in Bernard Lodge. More of the average Jamaican will have to be looking at those in terms of the affordability. In terms of the construction material, what I would like to see, my vision, we live in a hurricane-prone and an earthquake zone. So clearly, we need to have strong structures. But I would want to see us looking at alternative building methods and materials, and I'm thinking of a mix. We could even look at things like bamboo and that sort of thing. I've seen people do some lovely things with containers, but I'm thinking the external structure can be concrete, but we could focus a lot more in terms of the internal using drywalls inside. Things like that I'm actually thinking, we could consider.
Okay, and can you explain to the listeners why you're thinking in that direction?
Because we're thinking of bringing down the cost. We're certainly
bring the cost down. I see.
Bring the cost down, and I think if the government, one of the things the government has to do too, is to create the type of incentives. Developers, if they could be incentivized by the government to target low and middle income units for new developments. I'm thinking of things like we need to be thinking of going green. So provide greater incentives for solar powered, things like solar water heaters, solar things, those things like houses having water tanks. I think that those things should be incentivized. So you make it easier for people to not just buy the house, but make it more efficient. Those are some of the things I think we should focus on.
And less costly to maintain.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I don't want to leave this discussion today without touching on something very important. You keep mentioning a price range of, say, 7 to 25 million, and you mention another price range. Some persons are barely at 7 million as a starting point. However, they are contributing in terms of NHT, National Housing Trust contributions. What words of advice, if any, would you like to leave with them? You have some persons who are working very hard on a day-to-day basis in their jobs, but when they come now to say, I would like to purchase a home, when they do their calculations, they may even be at 6 million as to what they can personally afford. What, if any, advice can you consider offering to them, sir?
Well, Stokely, a couple of things. The Bible says 2 is better than 1. That's one. It's good if you can find somebody that you can combine your mortgage benefits with, and that's why when you
like a family member or the spouse.
So you could then I have a lot of customers. They are siblings, and they join their energy benefit. You have 6.5, I have 6.5. You have 6.5, I have 3. And if you think about the sort of generational housing sort of arrangement, so I think that is one thing. If we see ourselves as working in families, okay, so that is one option. The other option too, sometimes what you might have to do is you think of buying land and then build on own land. So sometimes that's what you have to do, because in many instances, if you're the person who can manage the construction process, you can identify a good builder, a good contractor, and you can handle that. That many times can be much more affordable. You start there. When I got married, my first thing that we did was to buy a piece of land. That's what we could afford.
Indeed.
And of course, when you look at the mortgage institutions are now offering single digit, so mix your housing trust with your building society. Always tell people, always save with a building society and a credit union. And you remember now, all these financial institutions have an arrangement where they can mix their funds with the housing trust funds, and you bring down your overall interest rate. So look at all those options. And of course, as I said, I've seen some people who, if I were to call their names now, and they've been very, very creative. And they started small, building on their own land with a container, and then they expanded with concrete and came up with some very creative things. This is what we have to do as a people.
We are out of time, sir, but I want to thank you for a very useful, insightful, and very informative conversation with you, sir. We have benefited truly from all of what you have said. Mr. Donovan Reid, President of the Realtors Association of Jamaica, we were looking at the current effects of COVID-19 on the housing market. We thank him for his thoughts. Listen, stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Auto Loan, helping you on your journey. Roll out and make a statement in your brand new vehicle.
The Time by JN will help you find a way is 7:30 on the Family Station, Love 101.
When all is done and said, love me shawty bread. You love your shawty what? I love my shorty bread, and it was made by Honey Bun. I love my shorty bread.
Deals and Things is now open in Mandeville, stocking a wide range of human and expression hair, handbags, ladies' accessories, hair products, party items, stainless steel necklaces, banger phones, and so much more. We even have other name brand colognes in stock at special prices. Visit us at the Grove Court Plaza in Mandeville or call 876-328-9456. Deals and Things, offering the best prices.
Clear Sound Production Services in association with Kevin Downswell Ministries present 658 Best Thank You with Kevin Downswell, Rhoda Isabella, Rondell Positive, Chosen, Petra K, and Ali McNabb. Tickets 3,000, VIP 6,000 at spuropen.com/658fest. Saturday, August 7, 3 to 7 p.m. Police Officers Club, 34 Hope Road. COVID protocols will be observed. An attitude of gratitude. 658 Fest. Thank you. JUTC available to downtown Spanish Town and Portmore after the show.
It's time to hit the road again for another week of Love 101 FM's I Love Summer Youth Fellowship Takeover. And St. James, you are up next, but this time with a difference. So join Shavonnie Blair, Love 101's Youth Ambassador, this Saturday inside Youth Connection August 7 at 5:30 p.m. for Youth Fellowship Takeover at Unity Hall Open Bible Church or I Love Summer Youth Fellowship Takeover. St. James Leg is sponsored by Cars to Cars Auto, Certified Car Dealer, Distinction College, providing opportunities for you. Fosrich, your solar, lighting, and LED people. Chris and Charles, when you think loans, think Chris and Charles. Jamaica Customs Agency, Country Above Self, University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, fostering leadership and innovation. Shade Purified Drinking Water. Drink up, stay cool. The I Love Summer Paris Spotlight Youth Fellowship Takeover happens this Saturday at 5:30 p.m. inside Youth Connection, and it's here on the family station, Love 101. It's time to explore.
There's so much to see. It's so hot.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I am your host, Stokely Marsha. Now let's take a look at the newspapers, see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. Let us take a look at, first of all, the Jamaica Observer. Among our latest news, we have here, McLeod congratulates Parchment Levy for taking gold, bronze in Tokyo. And we also have France to offer COVID booster shots to elderly vulnerable from September. We now turn to the Gleaner. We have here Tokyo Gold Rush, Parchment strikes gold in 110-meter hurdles. And a bit of news not so pleasant. We have here Windalco rejects blame for another Rio Cobre fish kill. Quite a bit of controversy there. A little bit of back and forth between Windalco and a government body in relation to this matter. Let us see what comes of that. We will follow that as best we can. Well, coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question, which is how have the ever-changing restrictions affected your worship? If you haven't done so yet, leave a comment on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
The coronavirus cannot move around by itself. If we control our movement, we can control the spread. If you do not have urgent matters to attend to, stay at home.
7:30, me I got my bed.
If you have a cough, sneeze, sniffle, fever, stay at home. Flu-like symptoms or any respiratory illness, stay at home. If you do not have urgent matters to attend to, stay at home. By order under the Disaster Risk Management Act, stay at home. If you must go to the market, make a list and shop by it. Do not stay longer than necessary. Make a list and shop by it. Avoid touching surfaces. Avoid crowds and standing close. Use a mask or a scarf to cover nose and mouth. If you have a cough, sneeze, sniffle, fever, stay at home. Flu-like symptoms or any respiratory illness, stay at home. Tan at your yard. By order under the Disaster Risk Management Act, stay at home.
Love 101 wants to say thank you to our sponsors for the I Love Summer Tour. University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC, fostering leadership and innovation. Shade Purified Water, drink up, stay cool. Distinction College, providing opportunities for you. Fosrich, your solar lighting and LED people. Chris and Charles, when you think loans, think Chris and Charles. Jamaica Customs Agency, country above self. It's the I Love Summer Tour. It's time to explore. The I Love Summer Tour is on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. Siobhan, do we have any comments on Facebook or WhatsApp in relation to today's question? How have the ever-changing restrictions affected your worship, Siobhan?
Well, not seeing any comments right now, but if they come in, then I'll make mention of them.
We'll keep a track of that. Well, we move right into the second watch. These ever-changing restrictions due to COVID-19 has many of us, well, some people might be confused and a little bit frustrated or totally frustrated. And how do the church administrations and their congregations keep up with the ever-changing rules? We have online today to discuss this topic Jennifer Campbell, former managing editor of The Gleaner and past president of the Press Association of Jamaica and chairman of the media ministry of the Kencott Christian Fellowship. She's also a communications consultant. We also have online today to discuss this Pastor Junior Tucker, pastor of Family, Word, and Worship. Pastor Tucker and Jennifer Campbell, popularly known as, can I say Jenny Campbell? Good morning to you.
Jenny's what I use. Good morning.
Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
Great having you both. Now, you know, because Pastor Tucker is, I take it, leading his flock. Coming to you, Sean Campbell, but because Mr. Tucker is leading his flock. Pastor Tucker, help us. As a pastor, how do you find the constant changes to the rules as it relates to the gathering limits within a particular church, based on square footage, based on, you know, all the guidelines from the government of Jamaica? We know governments all over have put in certain measures in relation to their own situation in their own countries. Right. How are you finding it, though?
Well, it's been very difficult, just to be very honest. We have had to have our staff. We have a staff that just deals with the whole running of not only just the church in terms of the logistics of the church, but just even the program on a Sunday, how we execute the service, and the whole protocol thing. You just have to be alert. Like I tell them all the time, say prepare to be interrupted, and that is the motto that we live by right now. It's just every time I have to check out what the government says, and then we police ourselves. We have to police ourselves. We're not going to wait for somebody to walk into the church. and from the government or something leak on social media that somebody call and say, how come you? We police ourselves. We watch what we do. We watch the services online and check and see if we're doing the right things, and just be flexible. It's the times we're living in, and as people of the Lord, we have to be people of order. We have to set a good example and make sure that we, more than anybody else, is following the Prime Minister, because that's biblical. We need to, to obey the laws of the land. Whether you disagree with it or not. If you disagree with it, then you privately protest it. But if it is the law, then it's the law. You obey the law. So we literally have to police ourselves, keep up abreast with the news, and wear our masks, sanitize, all that good stuff. I mean, there's people in our church that are assigned to, police these things for better, to use that word. That's what it is,
Now, the current gathering limit, and you're handling it on a weekly basis, sir.
Yes.
Is it now 50% of the capacity?
Yes, it's 50%.
Yes.
What we did though was when the whole pandemic hit, and we had to go online and stuff. If you recall, like a year and a half ago,
yes.
we were actually at double services. So when the 50% came about, what we did was to just go back to double services. So you have two opportunities for 50%. So one person might not be able to come to the 10:30 service there. You can come to the 8 o'clock service. And it even gives the congregation more space because you use the same facility for two services. So, we're not worried about being full. It's not about being full. It's really more about accommodation and comfort, and for the person to have the confidence to know that they're walking to an environment that, they have the space and the protocols will be kept. And the thing about it that we implemented was this thing of reservations. You call ahead in the week and say, hey, I'm coming on Sunday. I'm coming with, my husband and I are coming, or me and my child coming, and we block the seats to say, okay, this is what's going to be reserved. And where it ends, it just ends. We tell people, there's another service, there's a 10:30 service, and we try to fill up both services. And that's how we do. We are a strong, what we call a reservation, team and a way of how we do things. And it's been really helping. It's really been a blessing.
I see. And you're in agreement with the restrictions?
Yes, because it is what I have to trust my Prime Minister. I have to trust my government. That's what they're there for, and they know more than me. And that's what it is. We just work with it and flow with it, until we can do better. If I have a protest or a problem, then we'll talk about it. That's how we vote. That's how we call and we write and we do our thing. But we don't protest these. We don't be rebels. We're not rebels. If it's the law, we uphold the law. We abide by the law. Yeah.
Understood. Jenny Campbell.
Yes, sir.
How have the restrictions affected the Kennecott Christian Fellowship? And I will declare interest. I used to be a member of that church some time ago.
Oh, man. Well, the good thing about, let me start here. Because most of the services, all the services generally are online, where even if you were a part of it before, you can still be a part of it even if you don't go physically, which is a good thing. Now, all of what Pastor Tucker said, we is applicable to Kennecott. But I'm not here to speak on behalf of Kennecott, but it's applicable to Kennecott as well. And I'm sure to a number of churches, because for the most part, the Christian community has, in fact, cooperated with the government in terms of the restrictions, right? And which is a very good thing. But just beyond that, in terms of how a regular church, a member of any congregation would be coping, even if you worship at home, from home, as you said, Stokely, that you're a part of Kennecott. Many of us have been part of other congregations over time. And this gives us an opportunity if the services don't clash, because Kennecott starts at 10, but you have Webster, you have Tarrant Baptist, and there are other congregations that start at other times. And it gives me, for example, an opportunity to be a part of Webster, to share with Tarrant Baptist and still attend my own congregation if I'm worshiping from home, which is a great thing for me because I enjoy the message and it's a full Sunday morning for me in terms of attending. I can attend 3-4 churches on a Sunday morning and enjoy all of them and sharing the worship experience, which is a great thing.
Hold that thought, Jenny Campbell, only because we're up on a break. Hold that thought. We'll be right back after this break on the Morning Walk.
Clear Sound Production Services in association with Kevin Downswell Ministries present 658 Best Thank You with Kevin Downswell, Rhoda Isabella, Rondell Positive, Chosen, Petra K, and Ali McNabb. Tickets 3,000, VIP 6,000 at spuropen.com/658fest. Saturday, August 7, 3 to 7 p.m. Police Officers Club, 34 Hope Road. COVID protocols will be observed. An attitude of gratitude. 658 Best Thank You. JUTC available to downtown Spanish Town and Portmore after the show.
Christian Charles has something special for you this and every Friday at 11:45 a.m. Listen to the information carefully, then answer the questions in the Christian Charles Financial Quiz Corner. There is so much to learn and you can win something fabulous from Christian Charles. That's the Christian Charles Financial Quiz Corner, Fridays at 11:45 a.m. Christian Charles, when you think loans, think Christian Charles. And it's on the family station Love 101.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station Love 101.
Digi Bongs. Make we rich together with Digicel. Just call 142 or dial *142 from your prepaid phone for a chance to win your share of $42 million in cash and prizes. Enter to get $500 bonus credit. Smartphone users get 500 megabytes any use data and 1 gigabyte BIP data, while non-smartphone users get 10 minutes and 50 SMS free for Digicel to Digicel calls and texts. Each entry costs $100. From now until September 14th, make we rich together with Digicel. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are having a discussion today with Jennifer Campbell, Jenny Campbell, former managing editor of The Gleaner, past president of the Press Association of Jamaica, chairman of the media ministry of Kennecott Christian Fellowship, and a communications consultant, and Pastor Junior Tucker, pastor of Family, Word, and Worship. And in this second watch, we're looking at how are the ever-changing restrictions affecting the church. Ms. Campbell, before the break, you were indicating the ability to share in multiple services and enjoy the benefits of them all based on the type of each service and, of course, the experience you're having. So I'm going to throw this one to you now. First of all, are you in agreement with the restrictions? And secondly, with these kinds of restrictions and the movement on online platform, why do we need so many churches?
Why do you need so many churches? The fact of the matter, let me start with the mission that we are on as Christians. We have been given the Great Commission. Each of us, it wasn't a group assignment, it was an individual assignment. Go ye therefore into all the world and teach and preach the gospel, making disciples of men and baptizing them. It is a commission to each of us. You cannot say that there are too many churches. In fact, each of us should be out there doing exactly what we have been commissioned to do, right?
The other, why I asked the question? Because if you can attend online, you don't need the building anymore. You don't need the chairs. You don't need the altar or the pulpit, as the case may be. You can sit at home and watch. So,
in terms
just
of
have one.
staying at home and what in terms of staying at home and watching.
Yes.
One, we know that the internet, the online penetration is not as great as we want to believe. So there are persons
Yes.
who will not have access via online. In terms
Okay.
of the being physically present with the brethren, the online cannot replace that. Even though you yourself as a human being, you're the sanctuary and not the building, and we understand that. The human present, the human's connection, that social interaction cannot be, you can't downplay that, the importance of that, because we weren't meant to be alone, because God told us that, he placed up the lonely in families. So it's essential for there to be some amount of gathering, because that is how we communicate. Although we're on this mission as individuals, in terms of that group interaction is very, very important. So we can't downplay that either. Now, I don't want you to think that worshiping at home means that you are not involved in the worship, because although I'm not a watcher, I'm not a spectator in the worship. That's the word. I'm not a spectator in the worship. I am a part of the worship, even though I'm at home, right? Because I get up and I worship and I raise my hands and I sing along and I do all the things and I read the scriptures and everything along with the worship. I'm a part of the worship. And remember, being physically away doesn't mean that you're physically away from God, right? So let us just clear that up. I'm not a spectator because I'm at home, although I'm not downplaying the importance of the physical presence along with the brethren, because we have also been instructed not to forsake the fellowship, right? So that is also important. I understand.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I thought you were through. Continue.
That's right. I understand the need for the restrictions. So I'm not against the restrictions in totality as the way they are. And whatever objections I may have, I will pass that through my fellowship. And, I'll say that at that level. But I'm not against the restrictions. But I'm also very strongly about the scripture that says, God has not given us a spirit of fear. I'm also very strong on the grounds, the promise that says he will protect his people. And I feel very strongly that the diseases and plagues of the Egyptians will not come near his children. I stand on those words individually, personally. Amen. And therefore, there are some places I won't go in terms of this fear that this pandemic is generating, right? Personally. But I won't impose that on others. But those are the grounds on which I stand and control my life and the decisions that I make. Right? But in terms of church activity where we started, and let's not go far from that, church activities, I think that there are some benefits that the church can get now from all that is happening, in terms of we come together, those who have not yet seen themselves as a sanctuary of worship. It is time for us to start to see ourselves as that, so that whether we are physically in the building or at home or anywhere, you're still a sanctuary for worship. And that is a reality that we need to come to. I see that. 2 weeks ago,
interesting.
Two Saturdays ago, we had the Women Arise conference. And it started out as a conference that we hosted at Kennecott Christian Fellowship in 2019. Well, in 2021, this conference was a conference that was hosted globally. In fact, we had it online. It was a virtual conference. And the number of women across the globe who linked into that conference, it was unbelievable, unexpected. I mean, I'm the convener of the conference, and I did not expect that number of women from even the UK. The conference is in Jamaica, and it started on Saturday 24th at 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Now, people in the UK would have been sleeping at that time because they are in fact 6 hours ahead of us. But the people in the UK, women in the UK were linking into that conference. And I found that, you know, I said, look at what the Lord is doing. So you can have an event now at a church in Jamaica that has global impact. Huh? There are some congregations that are now reporting that things like Bible study, prayer meeting, those things that are now being done online. It's no longer a small group in a church hall that's meeting, but it's a global event. Christians across the globe who are coming together to pray. And that has a powerful thing about it. Now, we wonder about what is going to happen to these big buildings and stuff, but it's not our concern in this time of harvest. We are now in the time of the real harvest. And we, as Christians, we must recognize the times, the season, and the fact is that the reach is greater, it's greatest now, it's now global, and we need to embrace that, because a life in Jamaica, a testimony in Jamaica can speak to a life in Pakistan, can speak to a life in South Africa because of an experience that somebody had in Jamaica.
Miss Campbell, I'm going to ask you to hold 1 second, because your connection has become increasingly difficult for us to hear you as you continue speaking. I'm not sure why that is happening. But I'll bring Mr. Tucker quickly. I'll bring Pastor Tucker quickly. Pastor Tucker?
Yes, sir.
Slightly. Pastor Tucker?
Yes, sir.
We have a few minutes left, 2 minutes or so. Any comments in relation to what Jenny Campbell has been saying, because she speaks about global impact, reaching more persons. Any comments on that, sir?
Well, she made a very, very powerful point, and I totally agree with her 150%.
Okay.
The thing that I just wanted to make sure we highlight, is this. I believe the online and what has happened to us because of a pandemic has stretched us, and I believe this whole thing of stretching us as what I would like to say made an addition to the church or the way how we do church. One of the things we want to make sure that we're clear on is that we don't use this to replace church, but to make it an addition to church, right? I mean, the scripture has balance. The scripture always has balance. Scripture says, "Do not forsake the gathering of the saints," but in the same token, go ye into the world. So you're gathering, but you go, right? So when you're gathering, it's there's nothing that can beat the tangible, touchable anointing that you and I, iron sharpens iron, and we're there praying together. Nothing will replace that. So I want to speak to all the pastors who keep worried about that. Just rest and keep yourself quiet. Nothing will ever replace the gathering of the saints. The buildings are not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, the buildings will get bigger. But guess what? We're incorporating technology as we go. And as we go, we use it as a tool. Don't be frightened by the tool. The tool is not here to replace what we used to do. The tools are here to enhance what we do.
Absolutely.
I think we may need to leave it there this morning, but I'm going to see if I can squeeze in, if it's even 20 seconds from you, Miss Campbell, because we didn't hear all of what you said. 20 seconds from you, Miss Campbell, and then we wrap.
Right. The point I was making is that a testimony, I'm just repeating now, a testimony in Jamaica may very well speak to a life in Pakistan or some faraway place. And so we are, as Pastor said, we are to embrace the technology and not see it as a threat. And indeed, the gathering is very important. It's equally important. Both gathering together is important, as well as doing the virtual, because this will increase the interest in the
I have to leave it there this morning, only because of time. I want to thank Ms. Campbell and Pastor Tucker for being with us today. Very interesting discussion. Thank you for your thoughts, and importantly for your time.
God bless
and
you.
visit the Love One channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love One FM programs. Listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app and stay connected to us, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica, Love 101 FM. This has been the Morning Watch. Join us next week when Reverend Dr. Dallin Toussaint will be back next Tuesday, and we look at other topical and controversial issues. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokely Marshall, handing back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.
It is 8:01 and it's time for the program Forward in Faith, brought to you by